courses in themselves, I think we should have had a long time ago. I think they're brilliant.
Teaching citizenships in madrasas can give a parallel to the students who are actually learning citizenship in schools.
It's a great idea because what it does is presents Islamic teachings in a way that children can really understand and begin to see that they can actually identify with.
The response has been really outstanding really in both sections for boys and girls. They've actually felt that it's added value to their own personal development. The awareness that they've created amongst themselves, how to tolerate one another, how to behave with one another, it's phenomenal.
We have got a responsibility in terms of the environment, in terms of each other and so on and so forth. And the fact that some of the pupils have actually pointed that out and said, you know, that they now see that they've got responsibilities on this earth, in the life for which we lead, I think just demonstrates some of the, you know, the depth of feeling and understanding.
ICE is a very thought-provoking and unique project. It is going definitely to transform some of the dimensions of Islamic teachings in our madrasas.
Islam isn't just a religion, it's a complete way of life. So citizenship basically, it's what Islam's about. You know, being a good citizen, being a good person, you know, looking after your neighbours, looking after your environment.
There's a life outside of mosque and there's a life outside in school and stuff like that. This class almost brings it all together.
Makes me want to come more to the mosque, and because of the there's behind all these subjects is like actual facts to back it up, like stories and past things about the Prophet.
It teaches us how to socialise and how to react outside mosque as well. We might get it from school and at home, but this shows the Islamic point of view as well.
It's very important that our young people who grow up in Britain do know what their rights and their responsibilities are.
You will find the average guy on the street, whether Shia or Sunni, they want to be good citizens. They want to live their lives as everybody else.
It's called Islam and Citizenship Education, or ICE. Developed and coordinated by a not-for-profit company called the School Development Support Agency, or SDSA, the project is funded by the Department for Children's Schools and Families and the Department for Communities and Local Government. The course is based on the National Citizenship Programme of Study used in maintained schools in England. What makes it unique is that it teaches citizenship from an Islamic perspective. The project director is Maurice Irfan Coles, himself a Muslim revert.
One of the things that we stressed, which was the most important thing of all really, was that we wanted to give the young people the skills of operating in a democracy. And so there are a number of lessons that are actually skill-based. But the key to all the thinking is that in terms of any Muslim child's life, the most important determinant is their faith. And so what we wanted to do, and what we did, I think, quite successfully, was to take all this from an Islamic perspective. And so we had a number of skill-based lessons. Then there are lessons on democracy, essentially. There are lessons on the whole notion of being an active citizen, which we would argue was invented by the Prophet, peace be upon him, 1400 years before it became a key concept within the Western world. There are lessons on justice. And so there's about sort of 4 clusters. And what we then did, we took the national curriculum programs of study, we looked at the values there, and each of the lessons has got something about citizenship values, and then it's got a section on Islamic values, and each lesson has this, and they follow a normal national curriculum, national strategies pattern in terms of the way we've actually structured them. But what you then find is, and what pupils find is, they do the citizenship bits, they then look at the Islamic bits, and it's a big chunk on Islam, and lo and behold, the values of being a British Western citizen and being a British Muslim are broadly compatible.
Citizenship teaches us to achieve that by keeping cohesion, by keeping links with each other, by knowing each other and their problems and their harmony. That's what it is, the citizenship.
All the values of citizenship are actually Islamic, as far as we are aware.
Although it's been government funded, it's always been community led. And the first phase was when we came upon a structure whereby we said, okay, we would use the national curriculum programs of study for citizenship, which was extremely important. We had 6 different areas of the country, about 30 madrasas in part of the pilot, to develop what became 50 lessons.
We delivered the lessons to 2 of our classes, so Key Stage 2 and Key Stage 3 classes. Alhamdulillah, the students they enjoyed the lessons, and the interesting thing was that each lesson had an ayah or a hadith to go with the lesson. So this gave the students understanding that what we were learning in the madrasas was also part of citizenship, and that Islam and citizenship was one.
Most important to state really, throughout all of that, we had an advisory board which consisted of most, not all, but most of the schools of thought in Islam, both Shia and Sunni. And all the lessons, once we'd actually written them with a small core team, were then validated by a board of scholars. And that again is extremely important. And so what happened in the first year and a half of the project, in phase 1, we piloted the lessons, they went through a whole series of stages and amendments and so on and so forth. They were then finally approved. We offered training and all sorts of things in the course of that time. And we've now got, as I say, we've got these 50 approved lessons. So phase 1 ended really with the lessons which were online and all the development.
Definitely, it was about. Okay, thank you.
Cheers, Khaled.
It was very important for us to make sure that various schools of thought are represented and are consulted in developing materials, because this particular project is not about propagating Islam. It's about education and education of Muslim children. As in any faith, schools of thought or denominations come down to, or actually are created when it comes to interpretation of a particular faith. What we have said in this project, we said we are not going to go into interpretations of the references we're going to use. We did not try to enforce one translation or one transliteration, or as in Arabic we say tafsir. We have not tried to force one tafsir on all schools of thought.
We've taken utmost care to ensure that the whole spectrum of Muslim interpretation and thought is more or less included within the lessons that we have prepared. In fact, we have dedicated one particular lesson just on that, for tolerance and respect of the other person's view and other person's opinions. In that way, we hope to teach the children that it is okay to disagree, it is fine to disagree. In fact, it's healthier to disagree when you cannot find common ground. But each side has got every right to hold their position. There was obviously communication by email, so we could make our inputs by email, but again also special sessions were held, day-long sessions, weekend sessions, where the scholars from the different groups and the academics and the practitioners from the various groups were brought together in one place. And we sat from morning all the way through to the afternoon, thrashing out all these issues, trying them out, modeling lessons and things like that, until we were happy that everyone who has been contributing was satisfied.
They are the beginning of in the right direction, and I think I was very pleased that we were able to be critical friends, to make criticism, and I was rather surprised that we managed to get a consensus at the end of it, where all Muslims agree on the material produced.
I've been on the advisory board from the very beginning, and the amount of effort and resources spent on making sure that the citizenship curriculum that ICE has produced complies with the Sharia, with the Qur'an and the Sunnah is really tremendous. I don't think it could have been done without this huge support from the DCSF, and also the effort and the experience of Maurice and his team really. A huge amount of experience and resources have gone into it. For example, it all started with getting the opinions and the arguments from the most respected ulama, not just here in Britain, but in fact the team travelled to Pakistan, where they managed to get a group of very, one can say, extremely respected and renowned scholars to actually give them the theological arguments for what they wanted to do. And so for democracy, for social justice, for being responsible citizen, for loving and working for your country, for all kinds of issues, the ulama, the scholars, gave them fantastic and strong arguments from the Qur'an and Sunnah. So it's really based on that. And then the educationalists here worked on weaving those beautiful arguments with the citizenship education to produce this wonderful resource.
ICE is a relatively new concept, but mosques have in fact been teaching citizenship values for centuries.
Citizenship, I think it's just a branded name that's been given. Madrasas have been, since they've been established, they've been teaching citizenship. What citizenship is, it's about adab, akhlaq, of how to lead a normal life, or to lead a perfect life. This is already being taught in madrasas. Respect of people, respect of animals, respect of places. This is already taught in madrasas in the name of adab, akhlaq. But citizenship is just a new title which has been given.
The material, really, much of it is the same as that which we've studied in the mosques, but we've never really learnt to apply them, perhaps. And there is, I think, a common misconception that perhaps Islam is one thing and being a good citizen is another. And these courses, in specific, the material that's provided, it reinforces the fact that both are not necessarily completely different. They're not dissimilar. In some lessons I actually forget, am I teaching the Islamic values or the citizenship values? Halfway through the course I have to wake myself up and thinking, well, they're very similar.
What I want you to do is try to group these statements under the right category, which is tolerance, respect and love.
Citizenship education is what we would traditionally call tarbiyah in Islamic terms, which actually means nurturing, developing and helping young people to learn life skills. And learning life skills is actually something which you learn in the home, you learn in the school, you learn on the street, and you learn it in the mosque, you learn it from your peers, you learn it from your older people around you. And of course, the madrasah education is more of tarbiyah than actually just straightforward education as such. It really is more of tarbiyah. I mean, when children come into the mosque, they come to learn how to pray, how to be good Muslims, how to be good citizens, how to respect their parents, how to respect their elders, how to respect their teachers, and what rights they have, and of course what responsibilities they have towards their society. So the madrasa education is ideal, or the citizenship program, this ICE citizenship program is ideal for madrasa.
Maybe you should sit on this side.
No, I'm all right.
Go on, Mario.
Do I just read them all out?
Yeah. What do you think is so different about the person next to you?
I wear glasses, she doesn't.
Okay.
I'm a Pakistani, she's an Indian.
Good.
We have different families.
Okay, good.
I have curly and she has straight hair.
Okay, well, we can't see that here, but I know you know that.
We live in different houses.
Okay, fine. Okay, can you do the same back to her?
I'm taller than her. I'm from India, she's from Pakistan.
Okay, good. Boys, can we just hop over to the other side, please? Yeah? Go on then.
Both go to different schools.
Okay.
He's small and I'm big. We live in different areas completely.
Okay.
Different age as well.
Okay. Anyone got anything which is really, really out there? So I can say, you know what, that's a good difference to have.
I support Liverpool and she supports Man United.
Okay, that's a great example. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Does it make anyone better or worse? No. So in terms of all of this, you're all kind of really, really equal to one another, in some sense, really, aren't you? Can you think of 3 people that you would give your respect to? Okay, go on then.
Okay, my mom, dad and my teacher.
Your mum, your dad and your teacher.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay, that's 3 straight away there. And the reasons?
My mom, because, Prophet, someone asked him, who comes first? So she said, your mother. He said, your mother again. And he asked again. Then he said, your mother again. Then he said, your father.
you put your mother right at the top there. She deserves the most amount of respect, because that's what Islamic values really are, to respect your parents. But your mother has given that importance first. Excellent. And the reason for your second person was?
Because like I said about the father.
About the father, and the third?
And the third, just respect your teacher.
Teacher. Any particular reason?
No.
Yeah, I got it.
Is that me as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got it.
You've got one?
A teacher one, because they teach you and they help you in life how to, what to do, as in, just say you're doing philosophy, they'll teach you about philosophy so you can go further on and choose your as in life job and work on that.
Yeah, excellent. That's a very comprehensive answer, isn't it? It's really well focused.
There are 25 lesson plans for Key Stage 2 and 25 for Key Stage 3. The subject matter is broadly the same for both age groups, though lessons for the older pupils are more advanced.
We start with a recapitulation, right? And so and again, we offer training in all this as well, because many madrasah teachers are not trained teachers, so we've given them a structure. Then there is a starter activity, which is normally punchy, hopefully engaging, and the pupils then do that. And then there are a couple of development activities, which is where you get the depth. When they've got to that particular stage, there is then a section, and it follows a pattern throughout, on Islamic guidance. And then there is a plenary whereby you bring things together. And I think one of the key things, the successful things for us was that in terms of the pupil evaluation at the very end of a lesson, they have to say, what have you learnt as a Muslim? And so they've got the citizenship bit, and they say, well, as a Muslim, I know that actually being an active citizen is something which we must be.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Okay, so today's lesson, we're going to be learning about volunteering and giving charity. So what it means as a Muslim to us, okay? And then we have to appreciate being a volunteer for something and giving our time and giving a part of our wealth. If not our wealth, then our time is also part of charity, and this compromises, and all of this builds up on being a good Muslim.
For any lesson, it is extremely important. It is the most important aspect in conducting any lesson. If a teacher comes to a lesson without any preparation, they have already failed. So we have taken that into account, and what we have tried to do is to try and make it as easy as possible for the teacher to teach this lesson, to minimize the pressure on them, so that they will have to do very basic research, if any, because we've tried to give them as much information as possible. The lessons have been set out, the lesson plans have all been set out, so that very minimal preparation is required. But even that preparation has to take place. The teacher must come prepared beforehand, because that is the practice of the Messenger Muhammad, peace be on him, to be prepared for a task beforehand.
The materials help us deliver the lessons really, really effectively. If you have a look at the structure of it, they start off with a title. It comes out with the objectives, which the students from schools and colleges, they're so used to doing that on a daily basis. So we have the lesson objectives. They have keywords in there. There's a starter towards things, and there's the main section of the teaching. There's a plenary at the end of it. So the structure is absolutely, spot on. And it breaks things down, and it makes it much easier for the children to absorb the information that we're trying to deliver.
As by profession a non-teacher, I find it not so difficult to teach, simply because I find the kids are naturally motivated. The material is presented in such a fashion that the children can draw similarities straight away. As soon as we mention a topic, they will begin thinking of maybe a sermon that they've heard in the mosque, and we'll mention what a good citizenship value is which relates to that. It clicks straight away. I personally don't find any difficulty in having children understand a topic and keeping their motivation or their focus on a topic. The material, the way it's structured, is very, very similar to that in which we have in the mosques. We have the highest authority, which we believe to be the Holy Qur'an. We have a verse there, and then if you look at the literature, the next is a saying of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and then a discussion. And it's much the same way in the mosque, and it's the same here. And children seem to, I think, relate to that naturally.
Just to finalize one thing, I was asked how the materials can be used.
But the lesson plans are only a guide, and individual mosques are encouraged to adapt the course and the individual lesson plans as they see fit.
You can use them as individual lessons, but yesterday I had a very interesting conversation which I think I must share with you with somebody from Tower Hamlets. And they were thinking to combine these lessons with some sort of positive activity for young people. So what we have decided, they will cluster a number of lessons, let's say about active citizenship. There's a lesson about living and working with others, there's a lesson about multi-faith activities, there's a lesson about active citizenship itself. So you combine 3, 4, 5 lessons together into one cluster, and you have an activity at the end of that.
I want each one of you to note down 5 charities. 5 charities that you can think of or that you've heard about. Any 5 charities. So if you look on your worksheets, there's a list that you could make down. So Siraj, do you want to start off? Just choose one charity that you've written down.
Blood donor.
What do they do?
Help to donate blood.
Okay. And what about Farhan?
For cancer.
Cancer. And how do people help? What's the cancer?
They get donated money. They donate it by medicines or anything like those that can help cancer people.
And name?
Children in need. Like they help the children around the world. Like because if they're poor and everything, you just give money, money, and then with that money they'll help them get all the stuff. NSPCC.
What do they do?
Help the poor people.
It actually helps children who've been mistreated. Okay, so that's a charity in itself.
Because it was government funded, to be quite candid, people were nervous. They thought it was a government-inspired agenda. People like me, was I MI5 and all this sort of nonsense, really. But over time, when people have got to, they've got to know that the support we've got from the Muslim communities is enormous, and the validation has been there from the highest possible level. And what we found is that both teachers have found them very, very useful. They found the structure of the lesson very useful. But most importantly of all, some of the feedback we've got from the pupils has been wonderful, really, and I've been really quite touched. Because what we really wanted to do was to provide our students with a holistic experience. So what they learnt in school was reinforced what they learnt in the madrasah. And that's what they've said. They've said, they can see the links. They can see that doing this from doing citizenship from an Islamic point of view, one, enhances their faith understanding, but also enhances their understanding of citizenship.
They're good, like you learn so much stuff in them. So if you didn't know it, then now you know, and you know what to do.
What we learned today is if a smile is a form of charity. I never knew that before.
We learn more stuff, how to be a good citizen, and what we should do, in giving charity.
It makes you better people all around, because if you learn something in one place, you might forget it after a while. But if you learn it in quite a few places, it's you're not going to forget it quite easily. You're going to remember it for a long time.
They're entertaining, and you get to learn more stuff in your head. So if you go to school, you know what they're talking about already.
It gives us a clear view of what to do around us and in the future, and it helps us in many ways. Some of the things that I've learned throughout the citizenship classes is that the stuff that I didn't know was just it changes other people around you, and it changes everyone.
To the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Although it's in school as well, in mosque it gives you a clear view of things in your religion as well.
Assalamu alaikum to all of you. Welcome to today's lesson. As you can see, our topic today is Islam and environment. What's the most common thing, litter-wise, that we find in our streets? Girls all think it's chewing gum.
It teaches us about how we can incorporate our good citizenship deeds with our religion.
It teaches us how to socialize and how to react outside mosque as well. So it's really good, and it tells us what's right and wrong, so we make our own decision.
And that's one of the first things that started.
We might get it from school and at home, but this shows the Islamic point of view as well.
Well, what happens if you have actually started eating something? Something you learn in your schools as well, how to help the environment. What could you do with your leftovers?
There's a life outside of mosque, and there's a life outside in school and stuff like that. This class almost brings it all together. How you tolerate different religions and races, and sometimes you may not agree with their views, but you're sure to tolerate them. Other people's views as well. You're interested to knowing what they think as well, and what their thinking is, and how it is different to yours, but in a way it's similar, because we're all living in one country, we're all under one law.
I really like coming to these classes, because we even learned citizenship at school, and also we like to unite with other people around school, home and at home, so we get to learn about different new things.
It goes into a depth about citizenship, as in with your mosque class, so then you don't think like citizenship is just for school.
Be a bit compassionate, be a bit easygoing.
It helps me a lot. In school they don't teach it as well as they do here, and they don't teach it in as much as depth.
One of the mosques that agreed to take part in the pilot scheme was the Bukhari Mosque in Leicester. It certainly has no regrets.
It's always been taught in the mosque for years and years and years, but it's never been actually given a name. The only difference is now it's actually been given a name, a citizenship, just sort of makes it sound more special, more good. Why is it taught? I think it's taught because to help the individual, help the student become a better person generally. I mean, sometimes when a parent tells a child something, it's like it's only my mom and dad. But sometimes when it comes from a teacher, it's like, oh, my teacher told me so. So sometimes the teacher has a different effect on the child, and I think for that reason, and the truth is, it has helped a lot. Our kids have benefited a lot from citizenship over the years, and now with the new name of citizenship, it's obviously helped them even more.
Go on then. You're right, son. May you live long life. Right.
The mothers have come, the fathers said, you know what, citizenship is an excellent idea, it's a great idea, and it's already proved to be a success in our child's life. So we've actually got very positive feedback from the parents themselves. Because what I think the students have gone back home and said, oh, we've been taught citizenship at mosque today. Oh, so parents are, well, because I don't think parents are I think they were quite surprised. Citizenship at the mosque, but isn't that a school subject? Yes, it is a school subject, but it's also a mosque subject as well. So I think the parents thought, oh, this is really good. Generally, students are good, but it has helped them improve their behaviour in mosque, i.e. respect. We've seen a lot more since we've introduced actually citizenship as well. So I think it's been very positive since we've started.
Our lessons are actually building on what they've learnt in school, but with a slight Islamic point of view. So the lesson will be given more strength by adding on a Qur'an ayah or a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is just to strengthen the subject or the topic which the kids have already learnt in school, but by bringing in the Qur'an and hadith, it gives a clear understanding to the students that it's not just any old subject which we're learning at school, but this is a subject which has already been taught and is part of our religion. I've had a lot of parents coming up congratulating me, but it's not down to me, it's down to the people who've actually devised the citizenship project. They've been saying that the kids are opening up more. I myself have noticed in class that the students are ready to question more about their religion, and they're opening up more, and because it's a new subject, the kids enjoy it. The number of absence on particular days has decreased, and knowing that they've got something to go back to in school and say to their teacher that, well, today I learned this about citizenship which I didn't learn at school. The students are quite positive on the subject. They welcome any new subjects which are to come from there. So even giving a smile is an act of charity. Why? Because it makes a person happy.
Whatever I have been told by the teachers and some of the students is very encouraging and very positive. To be fair with the community, which is diverse like any other community, the Muslim community is also a diverse community. The whole Muslim community maybe looks from outside being one single, well integrated community. But if you see the community from inside, that is not the case. But I am sure once they read it, once they are given proper training, and once they allow the trainers and the teachers to take it to madrasas, the whole community will realize that this is for the community and it is going to help the Muslim community in future.
Last year, I taught the ICE curriculum to a group of girls in the supplementary school I'm teaching on Saturdays, and there were about 12 of them, and they really enjoy this, like the teaching, because the way they've done it, it's very interactive, it's very lively. It's not only the teachers speaking, it's them participating and actually getting their ideas and what they think about it. They not only enjoyed it, but they learned so much. They said they do the same thing in their English school, they call it. Why are we doing the same thing? And you've got to explain to them that we are taking it from the Islamic perspective, that there's no clashes between being in the West and being a Muslim.
Any resources that is provided for teaching and learning in Muslim schools are welcome. And I'm sure teachers would be interested to find a resource which is more relevant, more contextual to what they're learning. So they can actually feel that, the citizenship program does relate to our everyday lives, and for us being as Muslims at the same time. I certainly found that the pupils were more interested at this point in time because they could contextualize it. Because we are a Muslim school, we teach the Muslim faith. Now they can contextualize citizenship, why we sort of talk about certain things, why we talk about rights, why we talk about government, why we talk about responsibility, to what they're learning in their Islamic studies at the same time. So yes, I think the students were benefited by understanding the contextual element, and certainly it also contributes to their interest in that particular topic.
With any new project, there is always teething problems, so that's quite natural. But I did like the approach because it was very inclusive, it was very open. When criticisms were made, they were not put down, they were addressed. And I think this is an example in good citizenship, how we behave and try to persuade, try to gain consensus, try to respect the other viewpoint. And I was pleased that we did it in practice. If there are any skepticism, it's because people have this fear of the unknown. They sometimes think the government is trying to impose this. And also, you have limited resources within the community. They say, we don't have time for this. We send our children to school just to learn Qur'an and Arabic, and this is an extra pressure on the school. They don't have the right resources to implement it. But once you actually address some of these issues and explain to people what this is all about, you will find the average guy on the street, whether Shia or Sunni, they want to be good citizens. They want to live their lives as everybody else.
The message for those who are sceptical is a simple one. Read the course materials for yourselves.
People had skepticism and actually concerns until they actually downloaded the materials and look at the materials. And I have actually come across many people when I started the project asking me, oh, this project is a government project and this and that. But my always answer was, could you please kindly download the materials? Have you seen the lessons? And most of the time answer was, no, I have seen the titles. I said, no, you need to look at the materials. So my message to the wider community or anybody who would be keen to use the materials or have any doubts in their mind about these materials, please download them, read them, go through them. And if you have any questions, come back to us.
I would ask every mosque or every Islamic center that before making any judgments, they should first of all look at the project, go through the materials, ask any questions, trial them out. There will be areas that maybe there might be an issue, but you can challenge that. But everything that we have put into this course, everything is backed and substantiated by the Qur'an, so therefore hopefully there should not be an issue with any mosque Islamic center. And at the same time we hope, because I'm working in the prison service and I have floated this idea that we have nearly 6,000-7,000 Muslim prisoners, unfortunately, in the prison system today. And a lot of these prisoners would also benefit by maybe doing a course like this.
Ultimately, the project team would like to extend the project to other religious faiths. For now, though, they're focused on persuading the Muslim community to give ICE the support it deserves.
I'd say it's an excellent idea because you'd be doing our society, our community, a great deal of help, and it would encourage children to be not just be better citizens but also better Muslims, because being a good citizen is being a better Muslim. So if they're afraid that that's going to take them away from the Islamic teachings, it's in fact contrary. It's going to bring them closer to their religion, and it's going to make them a better citizen for our country. So I would definitely recommend every madrasah to start doing citizenship courses.
My advice would be to all the other madrasas and all the other teachers in Islamic schools is to take it on, really. They will find that they themselves will be more familiar on how the children respond to things. It's a course where the material is so diverse, it'll better themselves as teachers, and their teaching and learning to improve standards across the board, and plus have this enjoyable set of lessons which makes sense both in their religious terms and in Western society. So take that risk, pick up a lesson plan, have a look at it, and see if you can adapt it in any way.
The best thing would be to try it. I've tried it in my madrasa and my children loved it. They thoroughly enjoyed it. They were really excited about it. I don't think they have shown so much enthusiasm for any other lesson than this one.
If we encourage them to be in the mosque and in the madrasa, at the same time we wouldn't like them to be apart from the society. So we want to keep it balanced, and I think these kind of projects probably play an important factor in doing that, and it started already persuading the parent as well as the generation, as well as the children, that you are British, you've got rights, and you need to play a good role in the society rather than feeling isolated and oppressed, which may cause problem within the whole society.
If we want our children to not only to benefit in the society but also to participate and not to have another 7/7, we do need to teach them the real Islamic values, not only teaching them to learn the Qur'an by heart.
I would say it's profoundly important, and I'll tell you why. Because I do a lot of work with young British Muslims anyway, there is, and it's hardly a startling thought, there is an issue of how they see themselves, of whether they see themselves as British or not as British. And to me, that what the whole project does and all the research it does, it actually says, actually, you've got to be a good Muslim, you have to be a good citizen. Right? And to be a good citizen, that means you have to be active in the community. And I really do believe that young British Muslims can actually get onto the front foot rather than be hugely defensive. And it seems to me that if mosques and madrasas take this on, it will enhance the self-esteem of young British Muslims. And they'll be able to say, I, as a young British Muslim, have got a place in this society, and it's a valuable and valid place, and I'm going to play my role in making sure that this society becomes better.
Islam and Muslims can make real positive contribution to the concept of citizenship in the UK. I think the issue of values are never stagnant, they always move. And I think people of faith in general, if they play their role in promoting the preservation of the environment, in tackling poverty, in being good citizens, in respecting the family, in respecting the elderly, in respecting the neighbor. And I think it's a bad time Muslims begin to think positively and not react to what this or that and the others perceive them to be.
you.